Hi, this is Lydia from Love Lydia. A couple of weeks ago I made a card with a scene inside a Polaroid frame. I had so many lovely comments about it and people asking for videos, so I decided to make this one. It's a little bit different from the other card, but I really hope you love it. First up, you're going to need a Polaroid frame. I have a already die cut one here, but you could cut one yourself simply by using a rectangle and cutting a square into it. Then you're going to need a square piece that you're going to ink onto. This is going to need to be bigger than the actual square that's cut out, but smaller than the edge of the rectangle. That means when you place that on top, when you've created the scene, it won't be sticking outside of the rectangle, but you won't be able to see the edges of the square from inside the frame. I hope that makes sense. So on the card previously I had a daytime sky with a bit of paper piecing. This time I'm going to make a more of a nighttime sky. I'm going to show you how I do that with some distress ink. I'm going to be using picked raspberry and also salty ocean. First I'm going to take a mini blending tool and I'm just going to go from the top and really saturate the card with the colour. I'm going to work from the outside and go in to help me not get any of the ugly streak marks in the centre, although I'll probably get some anyway. So I'm just going to work in. I'm not going to worry too much about the bottom piece as I will be adding some hills and some scenery there. So I'm just going to make sure the top part is covered with the blue, and then I'm going to go in with the picked raspberry. And I'm just going to add it to spots. I'm not going to add it everywhere, as I want it to be a bit patchy. So I'm going to be using a gelato, a Fibre Castell one, and it's a silver colour. I'm just going to add some of the gelato to my craft mat. I'm going to add a squirt or two of water, and using a stippling brush I'm just going to mix the colours together, the colour with the water together. Okay, when it's well mixed I'm just going to flick some stars onto my piece. The stippling brush creates a fine mist of stars, but using a paintbrush you can get a more blotchy star if you'd like, but you need a bit more water when adding these stars with a paintbrush. Just load up your brush and just tap it on. This will give you two different effects with your stars. To create the paper piece scene I have used the Landscape Trio from Mama Elephant. I love these dies so much. They are a go-to in my stash. So I've cut pieces from some pattern paper that was in my stash drawer, my scrap drawer, sorry, and I've cut one using one edge and one using the other. I've made sure that this piece here is flatter than this hill, as I want to have some buildings on the top of this. I've cut the clouds from vellum. I'll be using this set, and I've stamped the cityscape onto some acetate. I've done this so it'll be see-through, so I can see through the piece and have it just peeking from above this skyline here. I'm then going to attach all my landscape pieces to my square. I will be using multi-medium matte as it's my favourite glue. I'll be using a little cocktail stick just to take a piece. I'm just going to add it to the bottom of the clouds. As this is a vellum piece, you don't want to add it to the top, otherwise people are going to see where you have put your adhesive, and we don't want that. Okay, I'm then going to add my cityscape, and I'm going to add the adhesive down this bottom strip that I left. I've stamped this onto acetate with Stays On ink, and I've left it to dry before adding it. I'm then going to take the flatter of the pieces and I'm going to just move it round so I can get it so it's on the very edge of the bottom of the buildings. Just going to add some of the multimedia matte and just wiggle it round so it's where you want it. And then to add the final paper piece hill, I'm just going to add some more of the adhesive and place it down where you want it. As you can see, all the pieces are dangling off the side of our square, but do not worry as we will be snipping them off before we add it behind our frame. I find the easiest way to snip off the edges is to turn it over and just follow the line of the square. And there you have your little scene that you'll be able to place behind your Polaroid frame. So using the set from Simon Says Stamp and Mama Elephant, the Super Duo set, I've stamped this little boy out onto a piece of stamping card. I've coloured in his hair and his face, and I have paper pieced the rest of him up. And it just gives such a great effect to add the colouring and the paper piecing together. So you can either add your frame down flat onto the scene, or you can give it a bit of dimension, which I'm going to do, and I'm going to add some foam tape around the edge before I add it to my scene. I've added foam tape around the edges of my frame, and I've taken the backs off, and I'm going to add this on top of my scene. To do this, I'll add the frame on top of the scene so I can see exactly where I'm having it. So I'm going to add my little super guy with some foam tape, which I've doubled up so he's going to be a little bit higher than the frame itself. Take off the back and add him so it looks like he's flying over the city. Sentiment, I want it coming out of this little action bubble. So first I'm going to stamp it up using some Hero Art Butter Bar Shadow ink. I'm going to make sure I've covered all of the piece. Stamp it down. After I've stamped it in the butter bar, I'm going to take some of the orange soda and I'm just going to add this to the very tips of the action bubble. Blend it out. I'm just going to take my finger and go around to make sure that I've got no lines. And then I'm going to stamp this directly on top of the butter bar. Okay, so I'm stamping this directly on top of the yellow one, so it looks like I've got a bit of graduation around the outside. I'm then going to cut around this, leaving a small white border around the edge. For the sentiment, I'm going to be using the You Are My Hero from the In My Heart set from Mama Elephant. I just think that it works so well with the Super Duo set. Inked it up with some black ink and I'm going to stamp that further down on the action bubble. I like mixing and matching sentiments, so I have this Seriously Die from Little Inkers and I'm going to be adding this too to the top of my action bubble. So it says, Seriously, You Are My Hero. As there is such a lot going on in my topper that I've just made, I'm going to keep the card very simple by just having a white card base, a white card layer, which I'm going to add some foam pads to, and add this straight on top. If you've loved this video, please give it a thumbs up and I would love to hear your comments about what you think. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.